Alright guys, what we're going to do now is I think we'll just do a little bit of storytelling. And what this is I've had the privilege of talking to some of the legends, I guess, of the comic book industry. Not moonshine, just Sprite. Don't let the accent, stereotype me. But anyway, I've had the privilege of talking to some comic book pros over the years. Now, by no means did I ever have a relationship with any of them, friend-wise or anything. It was just, I looked up and had a few conversations. So, I just got a stack of things here, and we'll just go one by one here, and I'll try not to keep you too long. Alright, this is Conan the Destroyer. This was written by Roy Thomas and Gary Conway, the second movie, and this was a mess. Compared to the first one by Oliver Stone, this was just a mess. And I met Roy Thomas at a Heroes Con, and I've met him a couple of times. He's a regular. He's out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and ECW fan has videos of Roy Thomas talking to him. He's just that accessible, and the man he's gracious and has story after story after story. I mean, the man is non-stop, and they're just all fascinating stories. I mean, about anything. But see if I can get this to pick up. I want to know, he signed a bunch of comics for me. Right there's his signature. But he told me about how he and Gary Conway were flown out to Hollywood and all that stuff, and had to talk to some people, and they were wanting to change a lot of things. And the biggest thing they were wanting to do was change this character from the movie, who was from the Hyborian age. There's a whole civilization, tribe, whatever you want to call them out there, who they are. And Hollywood's wanting to cast some blonde-haired chick and stuff. And Roy Thomas stopped them and said, "No, you don't understand. They're warriors." And they were like, "Well, what would she be like? Throw me a picture." And he's like, "Well, they'd be like Grace Jones." Well, that little comment led to them really casting Grace Jones in this Conan movie. And he didn't really make excuses or anything about how bad this movie was. He just said that what he and Gary Conway wrote was really messed up by the people in Hollywood trying to make an entertaining film. So that was a cool little story. And I met him a bunch of times. Always has these great stories. The other one he told me about was about this. I didn't have this with me for him to sign, but he wrote this: "What if Conan walked the earth today?" And turns out this character ended up being his wife, Nanny Thomas. He put his girlfriend in the comic, and Conan even beds her in this story. So, makes her a cab driver and stuff. So I thought that was really cool to find that out from him. Okay. Later on at a Heroes Con, I met Joe Sinnott, legendary inker over Kirby, the Fantastic Four stuff, did Burn, the Fantastic Four stuff, just always been there. And at the time, I couldn't find anything to have him sign. I found out the night before I was going that he was gone, and my boxes were a mess. I couldn't find anything, so I printed something off the computer, and it was this. Fantastic Four 57 there. And he signed it, and he was sitting beside of Nick Cardy. Well, I'm so starstruck, I guess. That's too strong a word to really think about it. But, that's Nick Cardy beside of him. And I didn't mean to ignore him, but I'm in front of Joe Sinnott, a man who worked with Kirby in my mind. And he sat there and told me, he just sat there and he just looked at this cover, even though it's a copy, and he just looked at it, and he was just, he was going down memory lane. He was just talking about how, they just don't do it like that anymore. And he had some really kind of words to say about Kirby. And from what I understand, they didn't really meet a whole bunch or talk a whole lot. Kirby worked out of his house, and I can't remember how he said it worked, but he just, he had kind words, and just said they just don't do comics like this anymore. I mean, he wasn't down in anything. You could just tell he was missing it. Okay. Now, the next two years ago. Now, I was never an internet guy, and meaning that I didn't really get the internet to 2003. I did a few message boards here and there, and the biggest one was comicboards.com, and it's still around. And I got on there around 2003, and I posted pretty regularly for like about 4 years here and there. And what would happen is comicboards.com will take you to a home page, and you get to pick the board. They got them set up by Marvel, Independence, whatnot, DC. And I was a regular on the Superman board, and I went to the Golden Age, Bronze Age, Silver Age board, where, we won't get into that. But anyway, on the Superman board, and people started, the pros ended up getting on there and talking to people, and would answer questions. Walt Simonson was a big guy. He was on the New Gods board a whole lot, but it turns out he watched everything else. Kurt Busiek started popping up on the Superman board, and the guy that was writing Black Panther back around 2005 or 6 or something like that got on there on the Black Panther board and was just telling people, dump this place and come over to this message board that I've got up there, and they didn't know how to handle them. I mean, it got really weird there for a while. So to get to what I'm talking about here, my son was like about 7, and I'm thinking this was 2005, and I will gladly go back and hit the archives and see if I can find it, because this is the truth. But my son had a question. I was like, look, this is the guy that's writing Superman now. How about, I want to say it was 2005, whenever Kurt Busiek was writing Superman. But I had sent him a few messages telling him it was great to see him, and hold on, I'll be right back. Anyway, no, they can wait. So let me let the dog in. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. It's snowing, and I'm not leaving the dog outside. But anyway, so Kurt Busiek, I sent him a message telling him how I love Superman Identity, and he was like, thanks for the kind words. And I didn't really stalk him or anything or get out of line. But my son, I told him about that. My son had a question about Superman, and he asked. He said, I said, what do you want to ask him? So my son, who was about 7, 8 years old at the time, said, can Superman close one eye and shoot his heat vision, out one eye? I was like, that's a pretty good question. So I posted it on there, and Kurt Busiek didn't answer it right away. But man, we got slammed, and I went into daddy mode, and there was people on there sitting there telling me how, what a stupid question, and I went in daddy mode and was like, look, my son asked the question, wants to know, peace, back off. I mean, these message boards, that's why I never really got big time on the internet. They're just, can't eat the comics. They're just vicious, And I think that's why he answered. All of a sudden, Kurt Busiek came up and said, yeah, I think he would do it. And he would do it so he could focus an intense beam. So I thought that was kind of cool that he answered my son, and my son was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And he got to go to school and said he talked to the Superman, the writer of Superman. Now, I want to flash forward. I have no idea if this had anything to do with it, but this is Legion of Three Worlds from Final Crisis from 2008. It's number 2. And it has a panel of Superman Prime closing one eye and shooting heat vision out and putting an S on the Legion flight rings. He's given the Legion of supervillains. Take a look at that again. And I can't help but wonder if maybe my son had something to do with that idea popping up. I mean, it's written by Jeff Johns, not Kurt Busiek, but you know how these things are. Okay, so Kurt Busiek, Class A guy. Now, this is She-Hulk number 50, and I've done this in another video, with a She-Hulk video. It's on back from months ago. But in this, you have pages from Frank Miller, you have pages from Dave Gibbons, and you have pages from Walt Simonson, Howard Chaykin, and on and on. And this She-Hulk number 50 is quite a book to get. So on a message board, I started talking about the She-Hulk book. And just a wild night tonight. So I'm talking about the She-Hulk book. And Walt Simonson popped on there and thanked me for bringing up the book, and thought it was really nice. And come here, Gyp. Come here, Gypsy. Gypsy. Gyp. This is amazing. Gypsy. Come here. Anyway, Walt Simonson got on there, and we ended up talking back and forth. But what is so funny is, yeah, that it's online and stuff. Don't get me wrong, you know, it's a message board. But I ended up getting a friend request from, I think, from him on Facebook, and but he didn't remember me. I have no idea. I think maybe I was recommended by a friend or something. And we ended up having these. He would talk to everybody. He would put up sketches from way back in the 70s and stuff on him. That's the amazing thing. I don't like Facebook. I got hooked there for a while. I maybe have been on maybe seriously 10 times in the last year and a half or something. But if you get on Facebook, you can friend all these creators. I have Ethan Van Sciver, or if he's still on there, he would post little funny videos of him playing his keyboard and singing songs. But he also would show him inking like Flash Rebirth, and then he would also put up all these sketches and stuff in inks of the work he was doing months before it came out. So you actually got to know what was coming up. Had George Perez on there. He'll bring up sketches from way back when in commissions he does. And Walt Simonson was on there. So we ended up having 2 or 3 talks. But he didn't remember me at all from the message board, even though we talked from there. And this little story about Walt Simonson. But also on Facebook, I have Steve Rude on there. And a couple of years ago, Steve Rude apparently was having some money difficulties. So I don't know if his wife was sick or if he was about to lose his house. Gypsy, come on! And but anyway, he ended up posting auctions of his commissioned sketches and sketchbooks. And I ended up getting one super cheap, and he signed it for me, and then sent me a message about thank you and everything. But he has people working for him. There's no doubt in my mind, helping him sell his stuff as auction style. And this is an amazing sketchbook. Little stories to go with it, and it gives little stories about how he's just experimenting. That's Spider Woman. That's the Shadow, I believe, trying to do something different. Thor and Isis. And I talked to him a little bit through Facebook, if it was him, and he was gracious enough to kind of tell me how he loved the old cartoons, Space Ghost and Johnny Quest and all that stuff. I mean, it wasn't anything in depth or no big reveals or revelations, but the guy was a class act. Just paying him stuff. Let me find the stuff I liked in here. He did a little Rorschach Inspector. He said he's always trying to do some new stuff with Batman, and he always goes for with Superman and Batman. He always goes for the older styles, the Fleischer Superman, is what he likes from the Max Fleischer 1940s cartoons and stuff. And the guy was this huge Space Ghost fan. Great stuff. Yep, there it is. That's where that was the picture of Superman that got our little conversation started. Come on. And at the bottom it says "always in the Fleischer tradition." So we talked a little bit about that cartoon. That was it. It wasn't anything big. Power Girl, sketching color. Space Ghost. Magneto. And I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure he was a huge Alex Toth fan, but I'm pretty sure he was a huge Kirby fan too. Yeah, a little Silk Spectre and a little pinup. So I love the guy's stuff. I got some stuff. There we go. This is the reason I picked this sketchbook. He had some Johnny Quest in here. And I tell you what, somebody, I don't know if it was Alex Toth or Doug Wiley or somebody, but they absolutely ripped his Johnny Quest comic to pieces. I mean, I felt for the guy. Mytor. And what's funny is that there's Metamorpho there. He said he never really tried Metamorpho, and he put in here that he thought the guy was in the Doom Patrol. He goes, okay, Metamorpho. I'd never read this Doom Patrol guy from DC. No idea. I didn't mention that. I almost did. Herculoids. Dr. Doom. What else has he got in here? Awesome Vampirella. And you get the point. I mean, I can go on and on with this thing. So yeah, Psycho Man. Alright, so now we're going to come to the infamous Warren Ellis story. And before I even start this, anybody from Great Britain, I just want you guys to know that I have the utmost respect. I wanted to backpack across Great Britain. I ended up instead hitchhiking for 9 months up and down the East Coast. Couldn't make it over there. I dated a girl from England. I mean, don't read into this the wrong way is what I'm saying. And it's one of the reasons I haven't really told the story. I started a MySpace to really keep up with a few friends because I was getting divorced and moving around, didn't want to lose touch. And I was in my 30s, and I'm like, this is something high school kids do. And what had happened is I started finding out there was comic book guys on here, so I got on there with Warren Ellis. He was one of them, and he would send out these, what were they called? I guess bulletins, and he was able to put pictures on there. And there was one year that on our July 4th over here, which is a holiday over here. Now, I was in the military, and I almost went to Bosnia. My unit was going to be the spearhead of going to Bosnia, and that's why I think Bill Clinton's a great president, because he bombed him for 5 days and we didn't have to go. And and a few things like that. I'm not a super patriot or anything like that, don't get me wrong, but I also believe that part of my country, United States here, is that anybody has the right to say whatever they want. They have free speech. Okay? And that's what it is. With that said, getting on with the story, on July 4th, Warren Ellis put out this bulletin that he thought it was hilarious that we were given our independence, and since then us Americans have just been entertaining England for years. And they put up a picture of Paris Hilton driving a John Deere green tractor in the middle of New York, and it was his tone. Now, we're typing, and that's probably about 7 or 8% of communication is the words we use. The rest is body language, tone of voice, breathing, eye contact. So it's real easy to misinterpret, the meaning or what people say when they type things on the internet, if you follow what I'm saying. But this bothered me because he was coming off like an arrogant elitist who was laughing at people, and his whole attitude was coming off like, I've just insulted you and you're still going to call me a genius. So I actually ended up getting up at 2:30 in the morning, and I'm a huge fan of the Ramones, and I wrote him a little comment back that said I can separate a man from his genius. Very respectful, letting him know that I did respect him in his work. That's the only way I know him. And then I also said the only July 4th I think you need to worry about is July 4th, 1976, when the Ramones came over and gave you, you know, your Sex Pistols and your Clash and your whole, you know, scene for the 70s. And I said it in a very nice, intelligent way. It was not demeaning, and I even just said, if you want to discuss this further, let me know. He just deletes me, or he gets rid of me. No big deal. Time goes by, and I end up getting this invitation to come to a message board where you can talk to the pros. It was going to be a bunch of comic book pros on a message board, and people were invited to come over there and, you know, to this site and participate. So I jump right on there, and I'm already seeing a few people there, and I see some things that I can contribute. I'm not asking stupid questions, and all of a sudden Warren Ellis pops up. Apparently he's the moderator on this board, and he lets me know that I am only an audience member. I am not a professional, and I am not, there's no way in the world I have anything to contribute to this conversation. So I was like, you got to be kidding me. Again, Mr. Warren Ellis. So time goes by, and I was like, this guy's slowly becoming my nemesis, and I still got to finish Planetary, and it's killing me, you know. So I don't let it bother me. It's internet, no big deal. But I'm thinking, this guy's just an elitist asshole, you know. So he ends up down here at Charlotte Comic-Con. Wizard had started doing comic book conventions, Wizard Magazine, and they were trying to knock out HeroCon. They scheduled one that very day, and all of a sudden all this comic book community professionals ended up like getting their friends and each other to come down there and support HeroCon, to where Wizard had to cancel their convention, and Warren Ellis was a big name to come over there. And you know, I'm not quite sure how to tell what had happened here, but it's almost like Warren Ellis knew it was me, and he actually ended up having a few choice words at me, but he seemed to be like really nice to everybody else. I was just walking by. I don't know. I don't know if I got under this guy's skin, or if he caught a picture of me on MySpace and remembered it, because this was years later. So we'll just leave it at that on that one, because I don't know how to tell the story. I still don't know what happened. Maybe he thought I was somebody else. I don't know. So I've got stories about Tony Harris, who drew Starman. I met other celebrities. I met Carrot Top at a airport when I was joining the military, and some other stuff. So that's just, you know, the big Warren Ellis story is the one that really bothers me. You know, just a guy who's an elitist, a legend in his own mind, is how he's come off to me. Could be a sweetheart to anybody else that's ever met him. So just figured I'd share that one. All right, well, I'm running along, and I'll leave it at that. So hopefully you enjoyed some of the stories. Thanks a lot, guys.